Have you ever wondered why love is both the most beautiful thing and the most confusing aspect of life? Why do some relationships last forever, while others fall apart despite all efforts? The first date always carries a mix of emotions, nervousness, anticipation, and sometimes even anxiety. Everyone wants to make a good impression, but sometimes, it's the unconscious actions that can make the date awkward or less appealing. Have you ever found yourself waiting for the other person to lead the conversation, accidentally mentioning an ex, or getting so absorbed in your phone that you forget the person sitting in front of you? These seemingly trivial mistakes can make you lose the opportunity to build a potential relationship. Let's explore the common mistakes women often make and how to avoid them for a successful date. Welcome to the Sophia's Knowledge channel, and my name is Sophia. This is the place where every story, every lesson about love will help you find the answers. Today, we will explore a fresh perspective on 6 common mistakes women make on their first dates with men. These are not just empty words, but real experiences and profound lessons that will change the way you view love. Stay with Sophia, because the most surprising and interesting things are still waiting for you ahead. Before we begin, find a quiet place, put on your headphones, and relax your mind. Let the insights in this video help you fully experience and enjoy every meaningful moment. Are you ready to embark on this journey? Let's go! Number 1. Overly dependent on the other person to lead the conversation. On first dates, women often make a common mistake that few realize: being overly dependent on the other person to lead the conversation. This not only makes the date awkward but also inadvertently diminishes your personal appeal in the eyes of the man. Why do women often make this mistake? There are many reasons that lead women into this situation. The mindset of men should be the ones to take initiative. Many believe that men should be the ones to initiate, maintain, and make the conversation interesting. They think that all they need to do is sit and listen, merely replying when spoken to. But this is not entirely true. Anxiety or lack of confidence. When meeting a man you like, you might feel nervous, afraid of saying something wrong, or worried about losing points. As a result, you choose to remain silent or only give brief answers without actively steering the conversation. Lack of communication skills. Some women are not used to maintaining a conversation. They don't know what to say next or how to naturally expand on a topic. The misconception that silence is mysterious. Some believe that keeping silent will make them appear mysterious and make the man curious. However, in reality, this can make the date boring and place undue pressure on the other person to continuously lead the conversation. Consequences of being dependent on the man in the conversation. If you let the man completely control the conversation without proper interaction, several undesirable outcomes may follow. The date becomes dull and lacks connection. Men also have feelings and a desire for natural conversation. If they always have to find ways to extend the dialogue without receiving any engagement from you, they may feel bored and lose interest. You become less attractive in the eyes of the other person. Attraction is not solely based on appearance. It also depends on how you communicate, share your stories, and create engaging dialogue. If you lack personal opinions or fail to contribute to sustaining the conversation, the other person may view you as lacking initiative and not interesting enough to pursue further. It puts pressure on the man. While some men are good at conversation, others may struggle to maintain a prolonged dialogue. If you don't participate actively, they will feel stressed having to constantly come up with new topics, which can lead to fatigue and a loss of enthusiasm. You miss the opportunity to express yourself. The purpose of a date is for both people to get to know each other better. If you don't actively share your thoughts, interests, and life perspectives, the other person won't have the chance to truly know who you are. This diminishes the possibility of building a lasting relationship. How to become a woman who takes initiative in conversation. Ask reciprocal questions. When the other person asks you about your interests, work, or personal life, instead of just giving short answers, ask a question in return to extend the conversation. For example, if he asks, "Do you like traveling?" you could reply, "Of course. I love going to the beach. What about you? Do you have a favorite destination?" This helps the conversation flow naturally with a two-way exchange rather than a one-sided dialogue. Share personal stories. Don't just answer with a simple yes or no. Instead, add some emotion and share a short story related to the topic being discussed. For example, if the other person asks about your favorite food, instead of just saying "I love hot pot," you could add, "I really love hot pot, especially in the winter. I once had a hot pot meal with friends during a trip to Dalat. On a cold day, nothing is more wonderful than a hot pot." These details make you appear more lively in the eyes of the other person. Guide the topic subtly. If you find the conversation heading into a dead end, or if the other person seems to run out of ideas, take the initiative to introduce a new topic. One easy way is to draw on what's around you. Do you often come to this cafe? I find the ambience here very cozy. I noticed you're wearing a nice watch. Do you collect watches often? These open-ended questions give the other person an opportunity to talk about their interests, while you also get to learn more about their personality and perspectives. Listen, but don't just be a listener. Listening is very important, but if you merely sit and listen without offering feedback, the conversation will quickly become one-sided. Show your interest by nodding, giving your opinions, or asking additional questions related to the topic. Maintain a natural and relaxed attitude. Don't turn the date into an interview or become tense for fear of making mistakes. Think of it as a conversation between two people who are getting to know each other. When you feel comfortable, the dialogue will naturally flow. In the end, being overly dependent on the other person to lead the conversation not only makes the date boring but also reduces your appeal. Remember, men are not only attracted by appearance but also by how you communicate, express your personality, and create a connection. A confident, proactive woman who still maintains elegance will always leave a strong impression on the other person. Have you ever encountered a similar situation? If so, please share your story in the comments. I would love to hear your interesting experiences. And if you find this content useful, please like and share it to spread the message to many more. Thank you for your support. Let's continue together. Number 2. Sharing too much about yourself or being too reserved. Dating is an opportunity for two people to get to know each other, create a connection, and evaluate whether they can take the relationship further. However, one of the common mistakes that women often make is either sharing too much about themselves or being too reserved, unwilling to open up. Both ways can make the other person feel uncomfortable and reduce the chance of building a lasting relationship. Sharing too much, when you turn the date into a confession session. Some women, when meeting a new man, feel overly excited or eager to be understood quickly, thus they begin to share too much personal information on the first date. Signs of sharing too much. Detailing your past romantic experiences. Talking about ex-lovers, past hurts, the ways you were betrayed, or the mistakes you once made. Comparing the other person with your ex, whether in a positive or negative way. Sharing deeply about personal issues. Talking about family conflicts, work, the things that pressure and exhaust you in life. Talking too much about personal plans or long-term goals that the other person may not be interested in from the beginning. Revealing financial information or sensitive issues. Talking about income, assets, or money-related matters. Expressing overly blunt views about politics, religion, or other controversial topics. Why is sharing too much a problem? It creates a suffocating feeling. Men usually do not like feeling dragged into deep stories about past relationships or personal issues right from the start. This can make them feel pressured and lose curiosity about you. It loses the mystery and attraction. The attraction in the early stage of a relationship comes from gradual discovery. If you reveal too much, the other person may feel there is nothing left to discover about you, thus making it less interesting. It creates the impression that you are in need of healing. When someone shares too much about past hurts, the other person may feel that you are not yet ready for a new relationship, and they will hesitate to take things further. Being too reserved, when you make the date feel distant and cold. On the other hand, some women are too cautious and reserved when dating. They are not willing to open up, which makes the other person feel hard to connect with and not know much about you. Signs of being too reserved. Only giving short answers. When the other person asks questions, you only answer with yes, no, just fine, without elaborating on the conversation. Not sharing personal feelings or private thoughts. Avoiding talking about yourself. When the other person asks about your work, hobbies, or personal views, you always evade or give vague answers. Not showing enthusiasm for the conversation, making the other person feel that the atmosphere is dull. Maintaining an emotional distance. Not expressing your thoughts, not reacting to what the other person says. Keeping a cold attitude, making the other person feel like they are talking to themselves. Why is being too reserved a problem? The other person does not feel a connection. A relationship can only develop when both parties are willing to share. If you are too reserved, the other person will not have the opportunity to understand you, and it will be hard to create a feeling of intimacy. It makes the date boring. If the conversation revolves only around short, emotionless answers, the other person may find the date awkward and lose interest. It creates the misunderstanding that you do not care. Sometimes, you may just be shy, but the other person might misinterpret that as a lack of interest in them, leading them to withdraw. How can you share in a balanced and engaging way? Share selectively. Choose cheerful, positive stories to tell, instead of talking about heavy issues right from the start. If you want to mention the past, speak about it lightly, without too much negative emotion. Maintain a balance between listening and speaking. Don't let the date turn into a monologue. Give the other person a chance to share about themselves by asking reciprocal questions. If you feel that you are talking too much, pause for a moment and ask the other person about their thoughts. Share naturally, without forcing it. If you feel uncomfortable revealing too much about yourself, start with small stories such as hobbies, daily routines. Don't try to create a perfect image or keep too much distance, as that can leave the other person unsure of how to continue. Know how to create curiosity. Instead of telling everything about yourself all at once, give the other person a reason to continue discovering you. When they ask about something interesting in your life, you can say, "That's a long story, maybe I'll tell you more next time." This helps to keep the attraction. Finally, the key to a successful date lies in balance, not sharing too much but also not being too reserved. When you know how to communicate naturally, elegantly, and just enough, you will create an engaging conversation that truly connects both of you. Don't forget that attraction comes from gradual discovery, so let the other person have the chance to get to know you step by step, instead of revealing everything too quickly or keeping too much distance. If you are still watching the video, feel free to comment the word "continue." Leave your thoughts and questions in the comment section. I look forward to hearing your opinions, and don't forget to like and subscribe so that Sophia gets more motivation to create more interesting and meaningful videos. Let's continue together. Number 3. Appearing too perfect or not being yourself. On first dates, everyone wants to leave a good impression on the other person. However, one mistake many women make is trying to appear perfect or becoming a version of themselves that isn't truly them, just to please the other person. This not only makes the date lose its natural flow but can also harm the long-term relationship. Why do women tend to appear perfect when dating? There are many reasons why women try to present an image that isn't truly themselves, wanting to make a strong impression right from the start. When attracted to someone, women tend to want to look absolutely stunning in the eyes of the other person. Therefore, they might try to hide their flaws and only show the best sides of themselves. Fear of being judged or rejected. Some people feel anxious that if they show their true self, the other person might not like them. This makes them try to change the way they speak, act, or even their interests to suit the other person. Influence from societal standards. Women are often placed under certain standards of femininity, being gentle, intelligent but not too dominant, attractive but not overly bold, etc. This makes many feel pressured to become an ideal model rather than being themselves. Wanting to please the other person. Some women try to agree with all of the other person's opinions, even when they don't really think that way, just to avoid arguments or to create a sense of harmony. Consequences of appearing too perfect or not being yourself. The other person may sense the inauthenticity. People naturally appreciate sincerity. When you try too hard to appear perfect or not be yourself, the other person might notice the stiffness in your speech and behavior. This can make them lose interest because they feel you are not genuine. You create pressure for yourself. Trying to maintain a perfect image is very exhausting. You might feel tense, afraid of exposing your weaknesses, and worry that if the other person learns your true self, they will change their opinion of you. This turns the relationship into a struggle to maintain a facade rather than a natural connection. The other person likes you for an unreal version. If you are not yourself from the beginning, the other person might like an image that isn't truly yours. As the relationship progresses, it becomes difficult to sustain that fake image, and the other person may feel disappointed when they realize that the real you is not what they initially thought. You lose the chance to find someone truly compatible with you. When you present your true self, you attract those who are compatible with your values and personality. But if you try to change yourself just to suit the other person, you might end up in a relationship where you don't truly feel happy. How to express yourself naturally yet attractively? Accept that no one is perfect. No one in this world is perfect, including you or the person you are dating. Instead of trying to hide your imperfections, accept them as a part of you. Men don't need a flawless woman, they need a woman with her own charm who knows how to love herself. Don't try to hide your differences. If you have opinions or interests that differ from the other person's, don't be afraid to show them. An interesting conversation doesn't come from both people always agreeing with each other, but from the interplay of diverse thoughts. Don't fear that having different views will make the other person dislike you. Sometimes, it's those differences that create attraction. Let your emotions show naturally. If you like a story the other person tells, show genuine enthusiasm. If you disagree with something, share your perspective sincerely yet tactfully. When you express your true feelings, the other person will find you more interesting and the conversation will become more natural. Don't over-embellish about yourself. You can be confident in your strengths, but don't exaggerate them too much. If you say you're good at cooking but in reality, you rarely step into the kitchen, this might become an awkward situation later. Instead, speak honestly. For example, I really enjoy good food, but when it comes to cooking, I'm only at a basic level, I'm trying to learn more. This is both honest and creates an interesting conversation. Maintain confidence and comfort. Confidence is one of the most attractive qualities a person can have. When you are confident in yourself, you don't need to try to appear perfect because you know that your value doesn't come from perfection, but from being genuine and unique. Ultimately, trying to appear perfect or becoming a version of yourself that isn't real can cause you to lose genuine connection with the other person. Instead of trying to please others, focus on expressing your true self confidently and naturally. When you are yourself, you not only feel more comfortable but also attract those who are truly compatible with you. And most importantly, a lasting relationship is built on the foundation of sincerity, not on a perfect facade. Number 4. Mentioning your ex or comparing your partner to others. On first dates, the most important goal is to create a comfortable space for both people to get to know each other. However, One of the biggest mistakes women often make is mentioning their ex or comparing the other person with someone else. This can make the atmosphere awkward, even causing the other person to lose interest right from the first meeting. Why do women tend to mention their ex? Not everyone intentionally brings up their ex in conversation, but there are many reasons why this happens: unresolved emotions. If you are still thinking about a past relationship or have not completely gotten over the hurt, it's very easy to inadvertently mention your ex during the conversation. Using comparison as a way to evaluate the other person. Some women have a habit of comparing the current partner with an ex to see if the new one is better or worse than the previous one. This may stem from a desire to find a better relationship but inadvertently puts pressure on the new person. Wanting to prove that you have grown after your past relationship. Some people share their past romantic experiences as a way to show that they have matured and learned from it. However, this is not always appropriate on a new date. Unintentionally mentioning your ex out of habit. If a past relationship lasted many years, you may have become accustomed to mentioning your ex in daily stories without realizing that it might make the other person uncomfortable. Why is mentioning your ex a mistake? It makes the other person feel like they are just a replacement. No one wants to feel like they are competing with a ghost from the past. If you mention your ex too much, the other person might think that you haven't truly gotten over your previous relationship and that they are just an alternative choice. It creates an awkward and uncomfortable atmosphere. Dating is about building a new connection, but if the conversation continually revolves around your ex, the other person might feel uncomfortable. They may not know how to react or even feel pressured by being forced into a comparison. It introduces a negative vibe into the conversation. Whether you speak about your ex in a positive or negative light, it can still diminish the positive atmosphere of the date. If you praise your ex too much, the other person might feel inferior. If you speak ill of your ex, they might think you haven't truly let go of the past and might do the same to them later. It makes the other person wary about your seriousness. When a man hears you mention your ex too often, he might wonder whether you are really ready for a new relationship. This could cause him to hesitate in taking things further with you. Comparing your partner to others, a subtle but dangerous mistake. In addition to mentioning an ex, another equally dangerous mistake is comparing your partner to someone else. Comparing with an ex. Your ex also liked to play sports like you do, but he was a bit better at it. You dress quite nicely, but I think my ex had a more refined fashion sense. Such remarks, whether intentional or not, can make the other person feel devalued. Comparing with other men around. Your boyfriend is very thoughtful, he always buys gifts for his partner without being reminded. I've seen many men with more stable careers, they know how to plan for the future. When you compare your partner with others, it can make them feel inadequate and lose confidence in the relationship. How to avoid mentioning your ex or comparing your partner. Focus on the present and the future. Instead of talking about what has passed, concentrate on what is happening between you and your partner. Ask questions about their hobbies, dreams, and the things that might connect both of you. If asked about your ex, answer tactfully. If your partner asks about your past relationships, you don't necessarily have to avoid the topic, but don't go into too much depth. A tactful answer might be, I've had valuable experiences from my previous relationship, and now I'm ready to embrace something new. This shows that you have grown from your past without letting it affect your present. Compliment your partner instead of comparing. Rather than comparing, focus on the positive attributes of the person in front of you. If you like something about them, express your genuine appreciation. For example, instead of saying, he is thoughtful, but my ex was even more so, say, I really appreciate how you pay attention to the little details, it makes me feel very cared for. Be mindful of your words. Develop the habit of thinking before you speak. If you sense that you are about to mention your ex, pause and ask yourself, is this really necessary for our conversation? If not, steer the conversation toward a more positive topic. In the end, dating is an opportunity to build a new relationship, not to rehash what has already passed. Mentioning your ex or comparing your partner with others can inadvertently create psychological barriers, disrupting the natural connection between you two. Instead of focusing on the past, direct your attention to the present and cherish the person sitting in front of you. A sincere, positive conversation free from the shadows of the past is the key to building a lasting relationship. Number 5. Being too focused on your phone or social media. In today's technological era, phones and social media have become an indispensable part of our lives. However, if you spend too much time on your phone during a date, it can create a bad impression and affect the connection between the two people. Many women make this mistake without realizing it. They unconsciously check messages, scroll through social media, or even continuously take photos to post online. But this behavior can make the other person feel neglected, disrespected, and gradually lose interest in the date. Why do women tend to make this mistake? The habit of using the phone too much. In everyday life, many people are used to constantly checking their phones, viewing notifications, and updating their status on social media. When dating, they continue this habit without realizing that it can interrupt the conversation. Feeling anxious or uncomfortable with silence. Some people feel uneasy during moments of silence on a date, so they turn to their phone as a way to avoid awkwardness. Wanting to share moments on social media. Some people enjoy taking photos of their food, the cafe ambience, or checking in to show off to their friends on social media. However, being overly focused on this can make the other person feel that the date is just a backdrop for content rather than a genuine experience between the two. Lack of genuine interest in the other person. Some women are not really enthusiastic about the date, and instead of showing it clearly, they turn to their phone as a way to avoid interaction or prolong the time. This can make the other person feel unimportant. Consequences of being too focused on the phone during a date: it makes the other person feel disrespected. Imagine trying to share an interesting story about yourself, but the person across from you is staring at their phone, only occasionally nodding. This creates a feeling that you are not truly interested in the conversation and that the other person does not matter to you. Loss of emotional connection. Communication is not just about words, it also includes eye contact, gestures, facial expressions, and body language. When you spend too much time on your phone, you miss the opportunity to build an emotional bond with the other person. It diminishes your attractiveness. A confident woman who knows how to enjoy the moment and create engaging conversations is far more attractive than someone who is constantly glued to their screen. If you keep checking your phone, the other person may feel that you lack initiative and are not interesting enough for a long-term conversation. It makes the date dull and lacks interaction. Dating is about getting to know each other, but if the phone takes all the attention, the date will lose its meaning. A conversation that is repeatedly interrupted will never be deep or memorable. It leaves a bad impression and reduces the chance of moving forward. If the other person feels that you do not value the moment, they may not want to see you a second time. Sometimes, a small act like constantly checking your phone is enough to make someone lose interest in you. How to limit phone usage during a date: put your phone on silent and put it away. Before going on a date, turn off message alerts, calls, or even keep your phone in your purse instead of placing it on the table. This helps you focus on the conversation and avoid distractions. Only use your phone when absolutely necessary. If there is an important reason to check your phone, such as urgent work or needing to contact a family member, politely inform the other person in advance: "Sorry, I need to check my phone for something important." Then, quickly address the issue and return to the date. Focus on the conversation and the other person. Pay attention to what the other person is saying, ask questions, show interest, and enjoy the moments you share. When you are truly present on the date, you will find that there is no need for your phone to make everything more interesting. Do not turn the date into content for social media. If you want to take photos to keep as memories, do so subtly. For example, instead of constantly snapping pictures of food and recording videos to post online, you might just take one quick photo and then focus on your partner. Remember that real-life moments are more important than online likes. Observe the other person's attitude. If you notice that the other person appears uncomfortable or shows signs of losing interest, ask yourself, am I too focused on my phone? If so, immediately adjust your behavior. Set a no-phone rule during the date. If both you and your partner are easily distracted by phones, try setting a small rule. During the meal, we are not allowed to check our phones. Whoever breaks the rule first will pay for the coffee. This not only creates a quality date but also can make the conversation more engaging. Ultimately, being too focused on your phone or social media during a date can diminish the connection between two people and make the other person feel unappreciated. Dating is about getting to know each other and enjoying the moments together, not an opportunity to update social media or check messages. An attractive woman is not defined by her ability to take beautiful photos or have many followers on social media, but by her capacity to appreciate and savor the genuine moments in life. If you can put your phone down and focus on your partner, you will not only create a more meaningful date but also increase the chance of building a long-lasting and sustainable relationship. Number 6. Lack of emotional control or setting too high expectations. Dating is a process of getting to know and connecting with someone, but many women inadvertently let their emotions take over or set expectations too high from the very first meeting. This can make the date tense, lose its natural flow, and even ruin the opportunity to build a long-lasting relationship. Emotional control does not mean hiding your true self, it means knowing how to express your feelings in a reasonable way without letting them negatively affect the date. At the same time, setting expectations too high can easily lead to disappointment, put pressure on the other person, and rob the relationship of its comfort. Lack of emotional control, when emotions become a barrier. Some women, when going on a date, tend to let their emotions overwhelm them. This can stem from various reasons such as nervousness, anxiety, high anticipation, or even past hurts. Signs of lacking emotional control: appearing overly excited or hasty. When you meet an attractive man and feel an immediate connection, you may become too excited, constantly offering compliments, showing enthusiasm, or even mentioning lofty things like future plans. This can make the other person feel pressured and lose their curiosity. Appearing overly timid or tense. Conversely, some women become so anxious that they cannot relax on a date. They may be reluctant to speak, avoid eye contact, or come off as unnatural, making the atmosphere awkward. Being easily affected by small situations. If the other person is a few minutes late, says something unintentionally off-putting, or doesn't behave as expected, you might immediately change your attitude, appearing angry or saddened. This demonstrates a lack of emotional control and can make the date tense. Carrying too many emotions from the past. If you have experienced hurt in previous relationships, you may unconsciously carry defensiveness or fear into the date. This can cause you to lack trust in the other person or overreact to minor issues. Why is lacking emotional control a problem? It puts pressure on the other person. When you show too much emotion right from the start, the other person may feel pressured because they haven't had enough time to understand you. This can make them feel that the date is moving too fast or that the excitement of discovery is lost. It takes away the natural flow of the date. A successful date should have a balance between emotion and reason. If your emotions completely overwhelm the situation, you might inadvertently make the other person feel uncomfortable or unsure how to respond. It affects your image. A charming woman is attractive not only because of her appearance but also because of how she controls her emotions and expresses herself. If you can remain calm and comfortable, you become more appealing in the eyes of the other person. Setting expectations too high. When you create pressure for yourself and the other person. Many women going on dates tend to have high expectations of the other person, expecting them to behave perfectly, act exactly as desired, or even become an ideal partner right from the first meeting. Signs of setting expectations too high: wanting the other person to take complete initiative. Some women expect the man to entirely lead the date, from choosing the location, actively engaging in conversation, to paying the bill. If everything doesn't go as expected, they may feel disappointed. Demanding perfection right from the start: if the other person has a few traits that don't match your ideal, such as their dressing style, topics of conversation, or behavior, you may quickly judge them as unsuitable and lose interest. Thinking too far ahead after just one date: if you start imagining weddings, children, or a future together after just one meeting, you might create unnecessary pressure and make the other person feel overly committed too soon. Comparing the other person with an ideal image in your mind: instead of seeing the real person before you, you might unconsciously compare them to standards or expectations you have set. This can cause you to miss the opportunity to get to know someone who is truly compatible. Why are too high expectations a problem? They take away the natural flow of the relationship. When you go on a date with too many expectations, you cannot enjoy the present moment and may make both parties feel tense. They easily lead to unnecessary disappointment. No one is perfect, and if you put too much pressure on the other person, you will quickly feel dissatisfied with them from the beginning. They make the other person feel inadequate. If you continually express dissatisfaction or demand changes from the other person, they may feel pressured and may no longer want to continue getting to know you. How to control your emotions and adjust expectations reasonably: keep a relaxed mindset when going on a date. See the date as an opportunity to chat and explore each other, rather than a test to see if the other person meets all your standards. Don't rush to judge based on one meeting. A single date cannot reflect the entirety of a person. Give yourself and the other person a chance to gradually get to know each other instead of making hasty conclusions. Control your emotions naturally. If you feel too anxious, try taking deep breaths before the date or remind yourself that this is just a meeting, not an event that will decide your future. Enjoy the moment rather than focusing too much on the outcome. Don't worry excessively about whether this date will lead to a relationship. Focus on enjoying the fun moments and see the date as a worthwhile experience. Controlling your emotions and adjusting your expectations are important factors in ensuring that a date goes smoothly and naturally. When you know how to stay calm, comfortable, and open to what is happening, you increase your chances of forming a genuine connection with the other person. A lasting relationship does not begin with perfection. It starts with sincerity and a willingness to explore each other in the most natural way. Conclusion: dating is an important step toward building a lasting relationship, but many women inadvertently make mistakes that can diminish the opportunity for a genuine connection with the other person. Common errors, such as being overly dependent on the other person to lead the conversation, sharing too much or too little, trying to appear perfect, mentioning exes, being too focused on the phone, or lacking emotional control and setting overly high expectations, can make the date feel unnatural and cause you to lose the inherent charm of the interaction. The most important thing when dating is not to show perfection, but to present yourself in a sincere, confident, and comfortable manner. Consider each date as an opportunity to get to know someone and explore whether you truly are a good match. Don't place too much pressure on yourself or the other person, and don't let the past or external factors such as your phone or social media interrupt the precious moments you have. A successful date does not necessarily follow a perfect script. What matters is that both of you feel comfortable, connected, and willing to continue exploring each other. When you know how to adjust your emotions, express yourself naturally, and cherish the present moment, you not only attract the other person but also increase your chances of building a strong and meaningful relationship. Thank you for taking the time to watch today's video. I hope you found these lessons about love and relationships useful. If you found this video helpful, don't forget to like, subscribe, and share with your friends. I truly appreciate your support and will continue to bring valuable content in future videos. Let's continue this journey together as we explore love and relationships. See you next time and I wish you always happiness.